It's our annual UFL episode. No, don't worry. We're not going to preview the whole UFL season. We're going to tell you which Bears we would send to the UFL if we could to get them to develop more. It's a fun episode. We do it every year. Plus, we got rule changes to discuss and somebody to bring into the show for the first time sitting here on the panel. It's going to be a lot of fun. CHGO Bears starts right now. CHGO Bears Podcast, one of my favorite episodes of the entire year, probably just me, but that's okay. It's a lot of fun to talk about developmental projects that the Bears might have. We're going to do that here on today's show. What's going on? Adam Hoge, CHGO Bears, welcoming in, guy to my left, who is not Mark Carman. Pat Norton.
That's a success, right? That's a good thing.
Yeah, the chat's good.
You were on thin ice, though, because you gave Mark the harmonica.
Yeah, sure. I understand that.
Then you showed him that trombone.
I didn't show him the trombone. The trombone disappeared off of my desk. It made its way onto the sock show first. I believe it might have been on bowls then, too. But that one's not my fault. I will not fall on the sword for that.
All right, that's fine. Well,
that's fair enough. Greg Braggs Jr. here with you as well. Steven is back producing.
Time.
We're all mad at him for playing golf yesterday. You should be mad at him, too.
I played well, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you shoot?
Braggs well or Steven well?
Relatively well. For my first round of the year, I shot a 14 through 2 holes. Wasn't looking good. Finished with a 103.
Okay.
Sure.
It's
okay.
Not good.
Yeah, Greg would be like, I played well. I shot a 70. So I appreciate the honesty. Welcome in. Got a fun show for you today. And big news, too, for CHGO in general. Because a lot of you have asked for this. And we're listening to you. And we're going to start to deliver it. It's not going to be all at once, sort of one by one. But you may have already seen it this morning. Brand new CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. Launched this morning. So all you Cubs fans out there, we know this is a Bears show. But if you happen to be a Cubs fan as well, please go find the channel, CHGO Cubs, hit subscribe. We are going to be unveiling team-specific YouTube channels within our family here, and it starts today with Cubs. We know a lot of you have sort of asked for that over the years, so we're going to come through and do that for you, but we need your help.
That's
we need
right.
help grow those channels. So if you happen to be a Cubs fan, please go do that even right now. I don't know, however you're watching this.
Just show some love. Yeah. Subscribe to the Cubs channel. Appreciate you guys. We're listening to you, so you got to listen to us now. Go subscribe. Show some love to our Cubs crew.
And if you like me after today, I'll be on there a few times, too.
There you go.
That's right. Yeah, Pat's been on the Cubs show.
Baseball season starts tomorrow night.
Baseball season's underway. Gonna be ready for a brand new day.
Let's hope so.
White Sox are gonna lose today.
Could.
Even though they don't play today.
Well, we thought we were.
Can't lose today.
I apologize. Carm's
I was
not
going
here,
to
and I
say,
started
we
singing.
thought we were going to be able to make it a show without singing, without Carm here, and Hoge just did a terrible rendition of whatever.
First of all,
that
why is
was.
he texting us on vacation this morning?
Well,
that's
can't get enough.
Bad vacation etiquette.
Well, you know,
did I text you guys at all when I was gone for a week?
Well, you know, he's always got his ears up, and when Barrett Media puts out an article and lists you as a candidate, you know, now he's got to text his boy.
Probably ruined his day.
He wasn't on the list. He wasn't on the list.
Make the list again. Damn it.
I used 6th.
Carm.
They did a top 5
Yeah.
of who could take over for Bernstein.
Yeah.
And Adam made the list. Carm was 6th, but they only did a top 5.
Yeah, he made it. He's the first guy off the list again. All right, let's jump into the show. I like having this conversation every year because I think it's a good thought exercise. We actually brought this up to Gerald Johnson, who's like basically in charge of the UFL. Is he the commissioner? I don't know, whatever he is.
We should know this because we spoke to him at the Super Bowl. I believe he is.
I think he is. he's in charge of it. We'll just say that. Anyway, Daryl Johnson, who you hear call games during the season, the UFL starts this weekend. The UFL has had some decent success over the last couple of years. I mean, it still exists based on most spring football leagues that have come and go. And they had to merge. They had the XFL, they had the USFL, and they merged. But they seem to be on somewhat stable ground. And I have always had this thought, and I still strongly believe it, that both of these, that one thing that would really help spring football would be if teams either had affiliations with some of these spring teams, or even, let's just say, could designate 5 players, which is what we're going to do today, from their 90-man roster to go play in the spring league. And maybe that's just put in a pool, and then they draft those players or they assign them however they want. However you want to do it, I think there's a way to do it.
Like a Rule 5 draft almost.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
Because let me just ask you guys as Bears fans, would you watch more of the UFL if 5 Bears players were playing in the league?
Right.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I would.
The answer for a lot of people is going to be yes.
Man, talk about bridging the gap, right, to next season.
Right.
Get a little bit of spring ball with some of your developmental prospects, 100%.
Now, I get the hesitations. There's the biggest of which is injury risk, 1,000%. Even if you don't get hurt, wear and tear of playing 8 more games a season, however many they play. So I get why it's not happening, and maybe isn't even a little bit of an unrealistic thought. But I don't give a damn. I'm going to keep pushing for it. What we're going to do today, though, is hypothetically come up with 5 Bears players on this roster. Each one of us has a list here that we would send to the UFL. Now, this is not we're sending them away because we don't like them. Trying to thread the needle here between players that are important enough to the organization that you're trying to give them the opportunity to get more reps and develop in game situations. You could even argue perhaps more meaningful reps than even the preseason. Now,
Sure.
The talent level is not going to be as high as that they're going up against, but it's going to be more like 100% reps all the time, where they're playing on teams that are trying to win the game. So more game-like situations. But also, they can't be so important that if they were to, worst-case scenario, suffer a season-ending injury, that you're screwing yourself and costing yourself wins. So that's part of why this is both in my opinion, a fun thought exercise and also a tough one, because you are really trying to thread a needle here.
Yeah.
Before we get into the specifics, like, what do you think about the idea overall?
I like it, obviously. So the shelf life of NFL players is going to be shorter than other leagues too. So that's kind of where you run into the issue of it right now. In baseball, you could have a winter league because in most cases, a lot of players are going to have longer careers. In the NFL, a running back, their average career span is, their first contract and then maybe part of a second contract. So that's where you run into, I would say, your biggest hurdle. I don't know. Obviously, I don't think that this is necessarily on the front burner or anything, but I wouldn't mind seeing it, and it would sure make me watch more of the UFL.
Well, it would depend on what, obviously, the team's mind in this process, because you're not going to, as we're going to go through this exercise, there's certain guys that I think can't play because they are planned to have a significant role or a very good role on the team or an important role. But then on the backside of things, you have practice squad players. Sure, in instinct, you'd say, sure, send some practice squad. But the teams, they don't want you to see their practice squad players, because then they're going to get picked up by another team and signed. So it's that middle tier guys that I think we have to try to focus in on, that are on the roster, not worthy of putting on the practice squad because you can't lose, but don't get any reps in the games.
Yeah. But here's why I think if this were to actually take off, why I think it gets even more intriguing is because, like, maybe there's guys that you want to throw out there as trade bait.
Sure.
And they go dominate in the UFL, and all of a sudden in the summer, it's like, I just think it would just add more discussion to what's already a crazy NFL.
So we're sending Bajan.
Yeah, put Bajan out there to dominate.
Carm's gone, and we've already shipped him off to the UFL.
So anyway, I'll get into my list here, and I'll tell you right off the bat, my first two I kind of struggled with. But I'm going to start with Kiran Amergadjie because, look, you can make the argument that he might actually have to play a major role, and you can't afford to lose him. But I don't know, man. We don't know that yet, and I need to see this guy play football. He had a big portion of his senior year at Yale get thrown out the window because of injury. Also, he was playing in the Ivy League at that time. He didn't play a lot last year. When he did, he struggled because he wasn't really equipped yet to play. This is a guy who needs reps.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to know what the Bears have in him. And here's why the timing of this, to me, is also why I ultimately decided to put Kiran on this list. You could learn a lot here in the next month before the draft.
Yep.
What do you have in Kiran Amergadjie? Oh, man, we might have something awesome here. Okay, don't need to draft a left tackle in the first round. Or maybe he continues to struggle against lesser competition than the NFL, and it becomes even more of a concern, and it can help inform you in the draft. So that's another reason why, ultimately, at the end of the day, I decided to put Kiran on that list.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to spoil my list, but so I'll save
just keep
my
going
argument.
I'll just keep going through.
Yeah,
my
I don't
list,
want to. I'll save
and
my
then
arguments.
we can kind of all react.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's all going to intertwine. But number 2 on my list is Austin Booker. Again, I struggle with this one because I want Booker to be in the rotation. Like, I want him to be a big part of the Bears season, and so I do fear him potentially getting hurt. On the other hand, I still need to see more of it. And I need to see, if he has put on weight and muscle, this seems like a good stepping stone in a situation where he should theoretically go dominate. Like, I would think be one of the best pass rushers at the UFL level.
Rock chalk.
There you go. For a second. Also a Gopher. I don't know. These guys all have 8 schools now. They're like Braggs. Yeah. You don't know who they played for.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
All right, number 3 on my list. This one might be a no-brainer. I've already seen it in the comments a little bit, but Tyler Scott, who, at this point, it's unclear how much he's still part of the Bears' plans. I'd like to go see him on the field more, use his route running to get open, and then maybe get the opportunities to make some big plays. And so I would like to see Tyler Scott at the UFL level, and then that would help, all of us have a better idea what they still have there going into the summer.
He's probably the perfect candidate for this of anyone on the roster. It's like right in that middle ground.
And they seemingly have already signed his replacements. Yep. And, again, maybe trade bait. Maybe he goes and dominates, and all of a sudden somebody who you're certainly not going to get anything for right now in a trade could become somebody you get a late-round pick for.
I think Tyler would want to do this because he wants an opportunity to show what he's capable of.
What if you could trade these guys then before the draft to get extra picks? I like this. Let's go.
Yeah.
Comp picks.
Get this done, Daryl Johnson.
That's great.
I'm sure it's not him. And probably
it's on Daryl.
It's probably.
By the way, Executive Vice President of Football Operations.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't commissioner. Come on, Roger Goodell. I'm going to blame you now. Okay, number 4. We get bagged talking. Guys in the comments want us to talk about this guy all the time.
So do I.
Here's the time to talk about it. You want to talk Ricky Stromberg? Here we go. Go play in the UFL. Let me see. Let me see you play football, dude. Let me see you. Perhaps this guy is somebody who's going to be depth and need to contribute this year as a backup. Obviously, the Bears just made a huge signing with Drew Dahlman at center. So anybody thinking Ricky Stromberg was going to come in and just become the starting center, that was never realistic, which is why I resist talking about him a little bit. But this seems to be a good opportunity. And then I'm going to go with a guy that I'm just intrigued by after last year's training camp. He had a position switch. He was moved more to, off-the-ball linebacker. But I thought he looked good. I thought he looked intriguing, and he's still hanging around on the roster, and that's Carl Jones. So, I think linebacker's in need. I'm intrigued by Carl Jones to potentially fill a role. I think the opportunity's there now that Jack Sanborn's gone. But go play in the UFL. Go see what he can do at that level because, again, he's playing a different position, so he needs to, kind of get used to that position. So that's my list. Kiran Amergadjie, Austin Booker, Tyler Scott, Ricky Stromberg, and Carl Jones.
I like it.
Yeah.
We'll take a quick time out here, and then we'll get Pat and Bragg's list as well. We also have rule changes we need to talk about because those dropped like kind of right before the show, and there's some intriguing ones to get into. But first, Bet365, new partner here at CHGO. We're really excited to have them on board, and the reality is now's a great time to take advantage of their introductory offer, as well as, just with all the basketball and sports going on, you want to take advantage of it because whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Win or lose, sign up, use code CHGO365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and you will get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. With basketball going strong, they have a cool thing they call the early payout offer. With the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes up by 20 points at any point in the game. Instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app. Use code CHGO365 when you sign up. And new customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use code CHGO365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER.
As the youngest person on the show, you can probably assume that I'm the worst at managing and budgeting my finances. Yes, there was a time that was true, but between late night fast food runs and so that I wouldn't really have to make anything at home.
And writing all your newsletters.
All my newsletters and impulse buying 4 harmonicas because I wanted to teach myself how to play. I was struggling to save for my future, but not since I heard about Monarch Money. Finances can be messy and confusing, but Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so that you can stop earning and start growing. It's more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for your accounts, investments, and goals. Don't just manage your money, start building wealth with 50% off your first year for our listeners. True story, Monarch Money helped me realize that I was spending $300 a year on a subscription that I was already getting for free through my cable provider. So start managing your finances to build the life that you actually want. Monarch makes managing money simple, even for busy lives. I'm looking for an apartment. Monarch Money will help me make that happen. With all your accounts, credit cards, and investments in one place, you'll always know where your money stands without the hassle. Track your spending, savings, and investments effortlessly so you can focus on what matters most, making your biggest goals a reality, and also pronouncing words correctly. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code CHGO at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code CHGO.
All right.
Let's get it.
Greg, you want to go next with your list?
However you want to do this. You want to go or you want me to go?
Go.
All right, I'll go. Why not? Let's
Hurry
do
up.
it. I'll hurry up. We'll make sure we expedite this process so we can react to the list. So my list here starts out with a couple offensive linemen. I want to start developing offensive linemen here. We've got potentially our starting 5 in place. Maybe we draft here a left tackle, to compete with Braxton Jones. But Doug Kramer and Bill Murray, I think, are perfect candidates for guys to go to the UFL. Doug Kramer, everybody wants to write him off because he's not a great fullback. Well, guess what? He actually is supposed to play on the offensive line. And, center position is important. Ricky Stromberg, I think, was an interesting pull put on the practice squad last year. At the end of last year, Pulse picks him up. But Doug Kramer, let's start developing this guy. They bring him back, so obviously they see a lot in him. He's making it through a couple different coaching staffs here. and he's got to get the reps, and Bill Murray, before his injury last year at training camp, was somebody I thought that was showing some promise. He even got some starting reps at training camp. Then, his season somewhat got derailed because of injury. Obviously, we talked about Tyler Scott. I think he's a perfect candidate for this. For whatever reason, the last two coaching staffs did not give him an opportunity to get reps. And I would bet that Tyler Scott would want this opportunity to not just show the Bears and to develop himself, but to show other teams what he's capable of, and not just third string reps at training camp. Austin Booker, for me, is the next guy on this list. I think he's one of those guys that I'd be a little hesitant to bring into a UFL situation because you don't know how much you're going to need to rely on him to be a part of your rotation when the actual NFL league year starts. But at the same time, depending on who they address here in the draft, I think Austin Booker, might be inactive in some games this year potentially, depending on how he plays at training camp. And then Noah Sewell. What's happened to this guy? They bring in this linebacker from Oregon, and we haven't seen him in like 2 years, it feels like. I know he had an injury. Let's get this guy out there, develop him at the linebacker spot. That's going to be a spot here in the next couple of years that I think they're going to have to start looking at. And you don't always want to allocate a lot of money resources to the linebacker position. So I want to try to get this guy some reps and get this guy developed a little further along than what he's done so far in his career.
I like it. I think all these guys make sense.
Yeah, I think before I jump in with my list, I think Austin Booker saying that he might be a healthy scratch in some games might be one of the hottest takes that I've heard on this show.
Yeah.
It's possible, though.
Yeah.
If they draft
sure,
a top 10 pass rusher, I mean, that pushes you down the list, obviously.
And then you have to be a contributor on special teams. Certainly not trying to, every time we talk about Austin Booker and Kiran Amergadjie, and we'll talk about him here after you go through your list. I'm not trying to hate on either of these guys, but I am, just from my assessment, trying to be realistic about what their potential on this team is. And, this is a new defensive coordinator here with Dennis Allen. So it'll be interesting to see if Austin Booker can earn that trust from Dennis Allen. Certainly rooting for him. Don't get me wrong, but I don't feel great about where this is going for him potentially, especially if the Bears draft a defensive end in the first round. Not saying they will, but we'll see how everything plays out.
I agree with that. He's on my list too. Not to spoil the whole thing, but he's on there too. But the reality is, when he was drafted, there was an idea that he left college probably a year too early, and that had he stayed, his draft stock likely would have shot up. Some were projecting him to be at least a second rounder next year, or I guess this draft now, had he stayed in college an extra year. And I think that that's probably the way that this is trending. We saw a guy who was a little undersized, underweight in his first year, overmatched against better competition. Now that you bring in a better coaching staff, the idea, I think, is that hopefully you get the production of someone who, had he come out of this year's draft, would be that second round player.
Which is, again, why I like him playing some UFL reps, because he, instead of playing what probably would have been like every snap in college last year, he didn't play a whole lot.
Right.
And so now he gets that opportunity to kind of show what development he did get in the NFL last year and where it might go in year two for him. All right, Pat, your full list.
Yeah, so the first player on my list is a guy that I've seen mentioned in the comments quite a bit. Yikes.
Well,
that's incredible. But number one on that list is Dominique Robinson. We're talking
Person
about
in the picture is not Dominique Robinson. We'll get to him.
Dominique Robinson goes to college as a quarterback, then becomes a wide receiver, and then comes into the NFL having played defensive end for, I think, 2 years at Miami. That's a player where he's a fringe roster guy at this point. We have I would say that if the year started right now, based on the way that things are trending, he's probably not making the team. I think that that's why you send him to the UFL. He's an expendable guy right now, but if he can show you something, if you can get him the reps, if you can play him, I think that that's a bonus for him, but also for what the Bears can see what to do with him.
Well, that's why I didn't have him on the list, because I think he's getting cut. But maybe
Fair.
to Adam's point, that's why you put him out there. See if some other
Trade
team would give you a 7th round pick for him or something.
So number 2 on my list, bringing up the trade thing, if you're going to trade Bagent, if that's an idea that people have, I think you need to get Austin Reed some reps so that you know what you have with him, because I don't like the idea of moving forward with a second-year quarterback as your primary backup, because guess what? That's something that the Bears did last year. I would like to see Austin Reed get that playing time. We saw him a bit more in the preseason, but he was also splitting reps with who was the 4th quarterback that the Bears had?
Brett Rippon.
Brett Rippon.
Rippon.
Who's right now the backup in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think they only have 2 quarterbacks on the roster.
Yep, I believe that's true. Number 3 on there was Austin Booker, but we've already kind of talked about him ad nauseum.
Yep.
Number 4, if you want to bring up that picture again, we got the Canadian Eagle, Theo Benedette. We got to see a little bit of him in the Hall of Fame game before he got injured, and then we pretty much never saw him again.
And we saw way too much of him on Hard Knocks.
We saw a lot of him on Hard Knocks.
Yeah. We have too much on the screen right now. If you're watching on YouTube,
It's a lot.
If you're listening to the podcast, Steven was so kind to put the
full eagle.
Not quite full eagle. Most of the eagle on the screen.
Partial eagle. And then my 5th guy on there is a guy that Braggs had on his list, but for a different reason, and it's Doug Kramer. And it's because if you're going to give him his first career carry at the goal line against Washington and then not hand him the ball ever again after that, I think it's time that if you want to use him again as your offensive bowling ball, then I think getting him some carries in the UFL wouldn't be the worst idea.
I like Brendan Henderson said, me having to minimize the screen immediately while watching this at work. That would be awkward.
Yeah, I think some honorable mentions. I've seen some people bring up Ian Wheeler. That's an interesting one, but maybe is he somebody you're not trying to show the rest of the league?
I actually thought I was going to put him on my list. I doubt he'd be healthy enough.
Sure.
I mean, he just tore that ACL.
Let's just say in a vacuum, though. Like, I understand what you're saying, but I thought we were talking in a vacuum.
Well, I think that
I
brings
didn't
up
realize you were talking about right this second.
No, I'm actually trying to send these guys to the UFL
right now.
I'm really trying hard. I'm going to talk to Daryl Johnson about this.
And Wheeler has been attacking his rehab aggressively.
I like Wheeler.
He's ready.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he'll be more ready than you think.
But I think that brings up like the good point here with why you would never send. It's a tough sell to send a skill player to the UFL in this idea because of the Ian Wheeler injury last year, but also because of as I was saying earlier, the shelf life of running backs is so small that putting that mileage on their legs when they're not playing in the NFL, that's going to be a tough sell to them, and it's going to be a tough sell to the team.
I do like your idea with Austin Reed, though. I think for most teams, you'd want your developmental quarterback to get reps. That to me, I think is right where
he's your 3rd string.
Because he's not going to get any reps, very limited reps at camp and training camp. So I like that idea as well. You send Bagent down there too, just to piss off Carm.
Someone did say I'd send Carm to the UFL. I do like that.
We could send him.
I don't think Carm would be against this because he would get to watch Bagent for.
Oh, yeah. Carm would fall in love with every obscure player down there.
He'd watch. You know how he always falls asleep in the 3rd quarter of the Bears games? Like, he would actually stay awake for the whole game.
Yeah, he'd be locked in. Gary brings up Zach Pickens. I think that's another interesting one there. Guy that's got a lot to prove this season.
That's a pretty decent one.
I saw my guy Berlissimo bring up Micah Baskerville. It's another one that I think, I
like that.
Yeah, so some different things. I would not risk Kiran Amergadjie. I think he's too important to what you're trying to do this season. We saw how many injuries the offensive line sustained. It's a brutal sport, even though we've significantly upgraded at the offensive line room. That doesn't mean that any of them are, safe from the same kind of injuries that we saw last year, knock on wood. But that's why you're going to keep drafting at that position here in the draft. But I also think that's why you need to protect a guy like Kiran Amergadjie. Braxton Jones, yesterday just posted on his Instagram that he just got out of the boot. So now he's walking, but when he'll be ready is a big question mark. So you need Kiran Amergadjie right now until you see the full picture of what your offensive line, especially at that left tackle spot, looks like. So that's why he didn't make my list.
Yeah, I totally understand the risk involved there. I also think it's risky, though, to just assume he's going to be ready to play NFL football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where, to me,
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the riskier ones, but I think there's a risk either way, and I just want to see this guy play.
He definitely needs the reps, but because of the Braxton injury, I'm worried about the risk.
Yeah. Well, they're going to draft Will Campbell
You
anyway.
have Joe Tooney anyway.
They are going to draft Will Campbell.
Did anyone bring up Zach Pickens?
We
Yes.
just did.
Gary,
Okay, sorry, I
Gary
was
mentioned
on
him in
another
the chat.
conversation. Yeah, I think
So
that's a good.
he definitely was
64th overall pick. He played in 9 games last year. I mean, it was year 2 for him. I mean,
Send him to the UFL and then
Yeah.
just forget about him.
I mean, I think most Bears fans already did. He was barely out there.
He wasn't on our lists. We did.
Yeah, 100%. All right. We'll take another time out here. We got some rule changes to discuss as I do a little bit of on-air production. Let's push the Will Campbell and the Pro Day stuff into snidbits later. But there's a bunch of rule change stuff that's going to be voted on at the owners' meetings next week, where I will be down there in Florida for. And some of the stuff is interesting that I think we need to debate today. So that's coming up next. But first, get more power to you during Dodge Performance Days at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Now is your chance to score a great deal on your next vehicle. Head to Ray CDJR on Route 12 today to choose from their huge inventory of new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles. And right now, you can lease the new 2024 Dodge Charger Daytona for just $259 a month, or get 0% financing for 72 months. Plus, you can shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000 with the friendly team of brand experts. The team at Ray CDJR is here to help you during each step of your car shopping journey. Plus, with Ray's Price Promise, you can shop confidently with no add-ons or hidden fees ever. The price you see is the price you pay. It is that simple. So go check out our partner today. Shop one of Chicago's largest inventories. Find the right new vehicle for you. Drive home happy. The team at Ray CDJR is the only one we recommend. Don't miss out on Dodge Performance Days going on all month long for low lease and financing rates on the new 2024 Dodge Charger. For more information, visit Ray CDJR today on Route 12 in Fox Lake or online at raycdjr.com. They've been serving the community since 1963.
That's right. Shout out to Ray, and shout out to our guys over at Lucy. Really appreciate Lucy. If anybody knows, if you're looking for some different options for your nicotine options, I definitely am going to encourage you to try out Lucy. If anybody that knows me knows I always got a pack of gum around me. Well, you can get a 9-pack of gum from Lucy, and Berry Citrus, certainly one of my favorites that I like to go to. So let's level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/CHGO and use the promo code CHGO2025 to get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Again, that's lucy.co and use the code CHGO2025 to get 20% off. And here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical, so just keep that in mind. But hit up Lucy for your nicotine alternatives.
All right. We are almost to the owners' meetings, which means this is where big
We
rule
break
change.
ground in our. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that might be heavy too. Big rule changes get voted on at the owners' meetings every year. And the competition. So last week, you may have seen on Twitter, I think it was discussed a little bit here on the show the day I wasn't here, was some of the rule proposals that teams submitted. So there's teams submit rule ideas. The competition committee then gets together and they say, all right, we're taking your submissions. Here's what we think too. And they put out what actually is going to be discussed by the owners, by coaches, by the committee next week. And then they'll end up voting on it. This is where it happened with the kickoff rule last year. So I'm going to go through some of these. I think there's some interesting ones we need to discuss. Everything from the kickoff rule again to playoff changes potentially that are super interesting, especially considering the division that the Bears play in. We'll start with this, though. If you remember the kickoff rule last year, the dynamic kickoff rule, it was technically a 1-year trial. It was not permanently put into the rule book. Now, it almost certainly will now. They're going to most likely make it permanent. There are a couple changes, though, that have been proposed. One is, which I thought was funny last year, even in Orlando, when they put the new rule in, to basically get it passed, they had to make a small concession that instead of the touchback being at the 35, they're going to make it the 30. And they even said at the time, they're like, this will probably move to the 35 next year. And that's exactly what happened, because as you saw, despite the new kickoff rule, there were still plenty of touchbacks.
Yep.
So to penalize touchbacks and to promote the ball being put in play more by kickers, they're going to put the touchback to the 35. Now, the initial thought is, oh, well, then why would the returners ever take the ball in the end zone? But that's not the point. The point is to encourage the kicking team to put the ball in play and to stop kicking it out of the end zone.
Right.
So it's a tough balance. They always kind of counteract, but I think this is a good thing. So you are going to be pretty penalized to just kick the ball through the end zone. Your opponent's going to get the ball at the 35.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. You know, the league, everybody likes scoring, right? So if you're going to, enhance the kickoff opportunity, bring that back into the game here in Chicago, we know the importance of that, that aspect of the game. And then if they do put it back in the end zone, now you're in field goal position pretty quickly, after one or two completions. Now all of a sudden you're in scoring range. So I think this is only going to up scoring, up excitement, up explosive plays, potentially on kickoff. And so, I'm all for this one.
My only hesitation right now is that I feel like every time that the ball was in play, and obviously this is due to teams getting used to this rule, is it felt like there was a flag anytime that the ball was taken out. And I want to avoid more flags.
Yeah, that's fair. But it's kind of on the players and the coaches to, learn the new techniques and learn how to, play properly without getting flags. But, I get it. The other small change that we're probably going to see is allowing the kicking team to declare an onside kick, at any time during the game. Last year, you had to be trailing in the fourth quarter. The rule most likely that they're going to vote on is allowing you to kick an onside kick anytime, but you have to be trailing. You still have to declare it because of the new rule. You can't do onsides, it's just the way you line up. But theoretically, like in the Super Bowl, that actually came up. They were trailing by so much, they probably would have liked to have done an onside kick earlier, but they legally could not have.
What did they score with, like 34 seconds left in the third quarter, but they couldn't onside it?
Yeah, so that's
ridiculous.
To me, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I remember Braggs was banging the drum for that.
I don't understand why, if you're declared, I mean, hell, do it on the opening kickoff of the game. Like, who cares when it is?
Yeah.
Although that wouldn't be possible either because you still have to be trailing.
I think second half beyond, you should be allowed to declare I'm going for an onside kick here.
Yeah.
I don't even like that you can't do a surprise onside kick anymore.
I know. Almost never happened though. Happened in one Super Bowl.
Now Braggs misses it.
Yeah. Yeah. The element of surprise.
Yep.
I don't want predictability.
It literally was run like once every 3 years.
Let's start declaring. Okay, this is going to be a pass. This is going to be a passing play now, everyone. Let's be safe.
Same thing, even remotely the same thing.
You can still do that little thing where you pretend like you're kicking it to the left.
We're going to run left here.
All right, some other rules. The Eagles have proposed that the postseason and regular season overtime rules are going to be aligned in that both teams will possess the ball regardless of the outcome of the first possession. Both teams are guaranteed a possession in overtime, and it would go back to a 15-minute overtime period instead of 10 like it is in the regular season.
So Josh Allen could have theoretically maybe won a Super Bowl if this rule had been changed a few years ago.
Well, that's why they already had changed it for the postseason.
Right.
But in the regular season, technically overtime's only 10 minutes, and if you go down and score right away a touchdown, the game's over.
Right.
So now they're saying you could score a touchdown, but the other team's still going to get the ball, and then they're going to add 5. I'm not sure if adding the 5 minutes is necessary. But theoretically, you could do like a 9-minute possession and score a touchdown. The other team's kind of screwed. I would say, well, why didn't you get a stop? But Again, this goes back to the coin toss. I think the coin toss is stupid. Just give the home team the pick.
I liked the XFL way of figuring out who gets the ball.
Yeah, because that was safe.
The scrum and run. Everybody be safe.
I think they should have two fans come out of the stands and fight for the ball.
That's another really good idea. We have the equipment managers for each team battle it out. I got my money on Medlin.
This next one's interesting. The next one's interesting.
Scrappy.
Expanding, and I love this, expanding instant replay's ability to advise on-field officials on specific objective aspects of a play. Steven, this is where that graphic can come up. So what does this mean? So if you've been paying attention, replay assist has been very successful to the point that you almost don't notice it when it happens in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just adding more replay assist. So if there
Can we get this for college basketball, please?
Yeah.
For the love of God.
It happens so fast. It's just, something that obvious we can see on TV. Let's just get in the official's ear, change it, bam, move on to the next play. It's great. So they're going to expand this because it's been so successful. So if they call a defensive player and then we all see a replay and realize, the head or neck didn't actually get contacted, and they can see that clearly, just pick up the flag. Face mask. They call face mask. Oh, there's not really face mask? Call it. Now, what's a little confusing about that, I'll have to get clarification, is what if you see a face mask?
That's what I was just about to ask.
I think this is only picking, you can only pick up a flag if clear and obvious video evidence exists. Horse collar. It wasn't really a horse collar.
Right.
Okay.
Just actually pulling the shoulder.
Right.
Or the hair.
And that happens a few times every season. You're like, that wasn't really a horse collar. Okay, pick up the flag. Tripping. No leg foot contact to opponent. They call tripping. They realize, that really wasn't tripping. Or sometimes a guy kind of gets pushed into him, whatever. Pick up the flag. And then I like this last one too. If roughing or running into the kicker happens, but then they realize that guy actually tipped the ball, and it's that obvious. It's kind of like picking up pass interference if the ball's tipped. So those are just expanding replay. I like that.
I have a couple thoughts on that. And one is that based on how horse collar has been called in the last few years, I don't even know what it is anymore. I don't know what constitutes a horse collar at this point, because half the time it does look like they're pulling at the shoulder pad. But if depending on how a player falls, it's going to warrant the flag. Secondly, this is kind of inching towards the idea of you have a group of people in a bar, you have a group of people in a Hooters, and they're watching a game, and you go to them for the decision on if that's a flag or not. Because replay assist, they should just have replay assist at a Hooters and just telling you, yes, that looks like a flag. Mm-hmm. Yes, that is a face mask. No, that's not a face mask because it wasn't called, or because it was called in real time. But clearly, this player jerked his head, so then it forced that call. I like this. I also think that now we're on that path to, can replay assist add flags to plays? And I know that you just brought that up, but I feel like this is getting the ball rolling on that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know if I'm all the way there on that idea, but when something is clearly wrongly called, which is different than missing a call. Like, things are going to be missed. They're humans. They're going to see everything. But when you think you see something and you actually didn't, and the replay shows that, like, oh no, that wasn't what you thought you saw, correct it.
Yes.
That's different to me than actually just not seeing a call. It would be great, but at some point we're going to be over-legislating everything here if we're just going to have, like, robots calling the game.
Yes.
But does this then open the door for, because this happens in college basketball sometimes, maybe the NFL too, where the play can only be reviewed if there is a call. And so now there's going to be, it's going to encourage more calls to be made, because then then you're reviewing.
But I do think this is different in that, like, okay, the flag was thrown and it's a wrong flag. Just pick it up and move on to the next play. We don't need a 5-minute review.
Because it's both ways, right? Like, there's times where we say, just let the play finish out, then review it. Because if you throw the flag, then we can't run the play, right? There's moments in games where we're like,
well, if you're talking about like a false start or something, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's now this other way where I'm saying, It's like, well, now they're just going to start throwing more flags because now they know they can review it quickly.
Look at what baseball did in spring training this year and what they've been doing in the minor leagues. It's the helmet tap for challenging a pitch. Was that a ball or a strike? That's always been a judgment call. We're looking, face mask isn't necessarily a judgment call, but based on how refs are seeing the game, that's kind of what we're looking at.
Well, in the rules, they're saying this is only for objective calls, not subject. So we'll see how it plays out. A couple more, and this is also has to do with the penalty. And I actually do have a strong take on this. So Detroit is proposing that they eliminate an automatic first down as a penalty imposed for defensive holding and illegal contact. So right now, defensive holding and illegal contact is different from pass interference. And it is a 5-yard penalty, but automatic first down. And they're proposing that they take that away. I don't want to see this passed because I think it's just going to lead to a lot more mugging of
I agree.
Of receivers and almost intentionally sometimes.
Right.
Like what if it's
end of game?
If you know you're lined up and it's their mismatches all over the place, just take the 5-yard penalty.
3rd and 15.
Exactly.
Well, okay, the worst case scenario is I just mug the number 1 wide receiver, screw up their whole play, and they're just going to have the 3rd and 10. Yeah, exactly to your point. I know
3rd and 20, you could do that 3 times if you're getting
still have
beat.
a 3rd and 5.
Right.
So and that's just going to extend the game. I do not like this, and I think it'll get shut down.
Don't expect people from Detroit to use their heads.
That'd be a first.
Yeah.
That's why they lost Ben Johnson, who's the last smart person to be in that city.
And then the Packers are, they're weak and they want the tush push banned.
Stop the tush push.
I'm all for it. No one agrees with me. I'm all for it. Stop the tush, but ban the tush push.
Yeah, the guy with no
Tired
knees
of it.
bans the tush push.
Yeah, the guy with no knees, ban the tush push.
My take on this is that I just want it consistent. Because right now, you can't push defensive players.
Bingo.
So it's got to be the same on both sides.
Bingo.
Make it one way or the other.
Which means the same reason they banned it for defensive players, then you're going to ban it for offense. Tired of it.
Greg was also personally victimized by the Bush. So
that's true. I was. Before the tush push, there was once the Bush push.
That's right. Last thing I'm going to bring up here is because there's a bunch of random things in here. But
Kevin's always got the quotes from me. He's paying attention. Kevin Fishbane's in the chat.
Oh, good.
I don't know if good.
I'm all for it.
Good.
The Greg Braggs story. Detroit is also saying that they should amend the current playoff seeding format to allow wildcard teams to be seeded higher than division champions. Your thoughts?
Pat?
So that's just the NBA, right? That's just the structure of
the
NBA.
It would take away division, the importance of
division. If you win your division, you still get in the playoffs.
Sure.
But you wouldn't get home.
So you still got the occasional 7 or I guess 8 and 9 Saints team that makes the playoffs. But they would have to be on the road, which I like.
So in other words, the Vikings would have had a home game instead of a road game after losing that Week 18 game to the Lions last year.
I feel like that's kind of where all sports are headed at this point. Like baseball will eventually do that too. When you have the Diamondbacks winning 100 games behind the Dodgers winning 115.
I don't think it's a big enough problem that it needs to be changed. But I get the thinking behind it.
Yeah.
And it would have at least slightly minimized the impact of that awesome Lions-Vikings matchup in Week 18. Now, the winner still would have gotten a bye, which is important.
Mm-hmm.
But that really was a playoff game for those teams. Certainly was for the Vikings. And so I like the fact that winning the division matters so much in those moments.
I agree.
So I get why we're having this discussion. I get why Detroit. I find it interesting. Detroit's actually the one proposing this and not the Vikings. But it would have hurt. Certainly, if the Lions had lost that game, they would have been in the same position. They would have fallen down. They would have had to go on the road. It was huge. It was a huge game. But I like that it was a huge game.
Sure,
I agree.
And
so I don't want to take that away.
So who's specific teams, not just like, oh, well, teams that are going to win their division but aren't going to have a strong year. Who's against this rule change? That's like, it's just teams from the NFC South to me.
Right.
Because
and this I will be paying very close attention to this in Florida next week because this could impact the Bears because they're definitely going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree.
But willing to win the division.
No, I want to keep divisional games important. So I'm not. I get it. You know, teams get screwed that, you know, have obviously last year the Vikings. But you know what? Detroit just needs to stop crying, you know?
It's a funny comment from Rogue Agent 88. The Lions make the playoffs twice in 50 years. They want to start changing things.
Exactly. They're crying. They fell short of their goals, and now they lost their whole coaching staff, and all they've done since then is cry. Their fan base, their team, their city. Just shut up, Detroit, and play football. Finally good.
Yeah. All right. There's some smaller rule changes in here. We'll continue to discuss these. I'll be reporting from Florida next week, and we'll see where this all goes. But I do find it interesting, and some of this stuff could impact the Bears as well. All right, we're going to do a little bit of a transition here.
Line change.
As Pat steps out, and we're going to bring in our guy, Luke Stuckmeyer. Great job by Pat today, by the way.
Great job, Pat.
Pat was awesome.
Great job.
You should be read his newsletter daily. Make sure you sign up for that. Also does a great job covering Bears things for us and really all, you know, as needed across the board with all of our teams. And he's been on CHGO Cubs a bunch of times along with Luke Stuckmeyer, who is joining us right now here on CHGO Bears.
Wow.
Because it's a big day. It's a big day.
Boy, Pat keeps a warm seat. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
A lot of fire going out of this chair.
Yeah.
What was going on over here before I got here?
This
chair's hot.
Yeah, he'd been farting a few times.
Well, that's what I thought.
I was going to say it was all his hot takes.
So what am I here for, Hoge? Am I here to massage his calf? Is that what people were saying he needed a calf massage?
I would stay away from that thing. It stinks.
It stinks.
Listen, I know. I can smell it over on the other side.
New Cubs channel.
Yeah,
that's
we're
why
excited.
you're here.
Yeah, we're excited. People have been asking for it, right? People have been asking for individual channels so they can just kind of, if they want to just focus on one team, that's where you can do it. And it gives Cody and I and Corey and Brendan and everybody else that's on CHGO Cubs a chance to, you know, spread our wings a little bit. Do some fresh stuff and feed the Cubs beast, because as excited as everybody is about the Bears and everything that's going on, there are a lot of Cubs fans that think finally next year is here. They're finally going to be a playoff team this year. That's the hope. That's what we're hoping for. And by the way, it includes a little bonus if you go and subscribe to the new CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. Every 500, we got something special coming out. We have new merch that's ready to drop, okay? So the new merch comes out, and we're ready to do it. Right now, we've got one. We have 4 new shirts for CHGO Cubs that are about to come out. We have one that's ready to drop. If we get to 500 subscriptions, that'll drop. Then when we get to 1,000, that'll drop. So the first one is the CHGO hot dog with the clock at Wrigley Field.
Which is awesome.
Right? Does anything
The
say...
Chicago dog.
I mean, I already know that Braggs and Cody will be wearing that shirt at a Friday 120 Club.
That's right. That's right.
Because I've seen Braggs eat hot dogs.
Put them down.
And let me just say, you want to talk
The
about
kids-
smelly? That's smelly too.
The kids call them glizzies.
They call hot dogs glizzies?
Yeah.
What kids? In
Kids.
Indiana or all kids?
Kids. The chat.
Emma
People.
calls them glizzies?
Emma, confirm the glizzies.
I had
Glizzy.
Well, they'll be
glizzy at
serving
the golf course
glizzies in
yesterday.
the bleachers. Serving glizzies, period.
You seem like somebody who would not eat a Chicago-style hot dog.
Oh, I absolutely would.
Okay.
Now,
good.
I go Polish sausage first. Polish sausage
That's
with
fine.
mustard and onions,
Yeah.
but Chicago dog, absolutely.
Polish sausage over the
I got a Portillo's near my
Over
house.
the brat?
You know? Huh?
over the brat. You go Polish sausage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Brat's third in line. That's a
I think
Milwaukee
if I don't
thing.
go hot dog,
you
I
can
go
leave your
brat.
brats
Yeah, I
in
go brat.
Milwaukee.
I go brat.
Sauerkraut.
Well, that's because you
Hot
love
dog brat.
Wisconsin. You love everything about Wisconsin, and I don't, for obvious reasons. So,
Oh,
I mean,
Emma, can you hand me my spray real quick? This is very important.
oh, here we go.
I thought this is a gift to Adam that I thought he needed. I have my reality spray for Cody that I brought out this season. This is the CHGO Cubs reality spray. And anytime, Cody was talking about 70 stolen bases for PCA. Hit him with it. You got to spray a little sanity into him every once in a while.
Does that have can you adjust the nozzle though, where it
does,
comes out like more like a
shot?
So if you want,
because I want to actually just nail that guy right there.
You want steady stream at him, you can do it.
Okay,
I just want it's kind of Cubs / Bears blue. If you feel like Carm is someday just losing his mind playing the harmonica,
Carm will be soaked in that thing every day.
Hit him with that.
Like
you have my permission to use the Cubby anti-Kool-Aid spray. So the same thing goes for the Bears,
I like it.
If Braggs gets he starts on some rant about Purdue that nobody wants to hear about. Yeah.
This is fun. I've never really had a prop on the show.
I like this.
I don't know. I haven't really checked out.
You absolutely can change the settings.
Greg's
very worried right now.
It does. It does.
Yes,
it works.
The
heavy stream works.
Yes.
First one might have hit your computer.
You might want to check the electronics. But anyways, yes, please subscribe if you're a Cubs fan.
Some people
please follow along. Go ahead and subscribe to the new CHGO Cubs.
And yes, we will be
YouTube page.
We will also be having YouTube channels coming out for
that's right
the rest of our shows. But it's just going to be it's a bigger endeavor than you probably think behind the scenes. So just trust us here. It's a lot of work is going into this by a lot of good talented people.
Trust us and support us, right? I mean, you guys, we've seen a lot of Bears people in our chat saying, "Hey, we want to subscribe, but just to what you guys do. We're only Bears fans," and that's fine. There's some people that like all of the Chicago sports, so obviously the main channel is still for you and all these separate channels that come out. But for all the Bears fans that have been asking for this is our first steps to this. The Cubs season starts tomorrow, so they're up first.
Again.
So we're listening to your feedback, so now help us out here with this fine program, as you guys do every day, where you guys are tuning in, you're hitting the like button, you're subscribed to our channel, you become a diehard, all that stuff. Well, the next step now for us is to have separate channels for each team. So show some love to each team and turn on those notifications for the ones that you hold dearest.
And you don't want me talking Bears because I'd be saying the Bears should take Dennis Gentry with number 10.
Yeah.
When it's,
people are saying you look like Ben Johnson in the chat.
Well,
people say you got a little Ben Johnson to you.
Geniuses do often look alike. There's a lot of times that
if you will.
It's in the code. A lot of people say that the genius code also has a common feature.
Yeah.
It's the nose.
Well, do you know what a snidbit is?
Yeah, like a snippet?
A snidbit.
Snidbit, like a little something?
We've created this word, but you're on the right track. You're on the right path.
Would you like to experience some snidbits?
Do they come in chocolate?
Well, here's
and do they have frosting?
Here's a snidbit.
Okay, yeah.
Will Campbell.
Texas?
We have to figure this out. LSU.
Yeah.
Will Campbell,
SEC.
his arms grew since the combine, but somehow his wingspan shrunk.
Yes.
So we're trying to figure Steven.
This is
how does that work?
That's not a real photo.
And how did they get a photo of me in an LSU jersey?
I don't know. So yeah, his
it's like
arms,
the T-Rex from Toy Story.
His arms are now officially 33 inches. Is pro day, but somehow the wingspan dropped from 77 3/8 to 77 1/4.
But we're not focused on that. We're only focused on the arm length, which has grown exponentially.
Yeah.
And if it keeps growing at this rate, by the time we hit the draft,
whatever he's doing, just keep stretching him out.
Right, he's going to be at almost
get to 30. We got to get another inch.
He's going to be at 40 by the time we hit the draft at this rate.
Yeah, it's a good rate.
He's stretching out, like
good point.
Dennis Gentry, number 10.
And for those of you that were like, oh,
this
is all
fast.
That he's getting juiced
60.
by his own team. They had a separate NFL scout do these measurements, so it wasn't like the AD of LSU was measuring him out. You know what I mean? It's just so people understand the distinction there.
We all have kids. You ever measure your kid at the pediatrician? My kids, their size changes every time because they're swarming around on a table.
Right.
They're trying to measure them out. That's what they're doing in the NFL.
Was it a Bears scout that really wants to draft Will Campbell?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, apparently there was a lot of different measurements from the combine that then they were different at people's pro days.
That always happens.
And that always
We're
happens.
having fun with this.
So then how do you determine which one is the one that we are supposed to, as fans,
Whichever one
trust?
fits your agenda, Greg.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's what I normally do.
Exactly.
That goes without saying.
Yeah. A couple more snidbits. Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, they went to Ohio State today for pro day. Boise State also had their pro day today, and LSU had their pro day today. So tough decisions had to be made.
So because they went to Ohio State, you think they're out on?
Well, they already
Genty?
had him for a 30 visit, top 30
okay.
visit, so that they know
they
what
know.
they don't need to see. They know who he is.
Genty's been hanging out with Caleb too, so it's already done. The pick's already in.
And then, like I said, the defensive tackle for Ohio State, Tyleek Williams. Tyleek Williams. Thank you, Steven. He fell and got hurt, got a little banged up running his 40. It seemed like he walked off on his own power and was okay, but he did completely dump on the 40 and then was like kind of holding his leg, and it didn't look good for a second.
Like
I know.
poop?
I was going to say he did what? in his pro day?
Like poop.
He
no,
like
he
pooped
didn't.
his pants while he was running the 40?
He did not poop halfway through the 40.
That's a messy.
But he took a spill because he's like what, a second round projection, right? Second or third round projection potentially. So somebody to keep an eye on, at least for the Bears' sake.
And then this is just bad timing for Mark Carman, who's not here today.
Oh yeah, this is if there isn't just pure irony in this world.
So the Bears added to their coaching staff today. They announced the additions of Rashard Langford and Mark Philippi, I hope I'm saying that right, as assistant strength and conditioning coaches. Langford joins the Bears after most recently serving as a strength and conditioning coach for the United States Tennis Association. Oh. So Carm's opportunity to talk tennis and break down Rashard Langford.
Carm's going to get his own tennis channel, is what I've heard on YouTube.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun.
Can't wait to subscribe.
I mean, it is just beautiful poetry that the one day that he could have reasonably talked about tennis on this program instead of wasting our time with it like he normally does, that he's not here where it's actually Bears related. Beautiful.
Bearlissimo wants to know what that guy's farty time was.
That is
solid,
why.
Well played, but bump.
Yep.
Very
I
nice.
slept with Bearlissimo one time.
You don't have to word it that way.
No,
I did. It's true.
Yeah.
One night in London.
Oh.
Heard it one night in Paris. This really happened.
I don't know, want to know about your 40 shades or whatever.
Do we have super chats? All right, let's get to some supers, then we'll let.
Wow, you guys get the super chats. Look at this.
Yeah, well, you're gonna get them on your new YouTube channel too now. You better. Bearlissimo, €2.
Where else?
Or no, £2 sterling. Sorry, missed opportunity. Carm Monarch.
This is going off of our Monarch.
Carmonarca.
Oh,
you know?
Carmonica.
Carmonarca.
Monarcha time.
Well
Carmonarca. That's very good, Bearlissimo. Killing it with the puns today.
John Hernandez, $2. Make a touchback, a loss of down penalty. Wow, that would be aggressive. Start on second down. And then
Well, the Bears never do anything on first down anyway. Just cut out the middleman. But this year will be different.
And Chubbs 82, $5. Why would you want replay assist to add more penalties to the game? God, that would suck. I agree with you on that, Chubbs. We don't need to add more penalties. We just need to take away the ones that are poorly called. Chubbs also $5. Let's get replay assist to call every holding call that isn't called and see how good the games are. That would be terrible. And then adding $2 more. I'm with you, Greg. Ban the tush push.
Yes. Finally.
Yeah, that's it.
Finally.
Get rid of it. Unless the Bears are going to be good at it this season, then keep it in.
Exactly
Keep
right.
it in.
Exactly right. Like I was vehemently
Give it
against
bonus points.
I was vehemently against the DH coming to the National League. I always was. Me
Yeah.
and Chris Ranji used to have knockdown, drag out Twitter fights. I lost that battle.
Yeah, it was a horrible take.
But no, it isn't. And we've lost the beauty of the sport and the strategy of the sport for the stupid DH. But when we had Schwarber, I was like, well, maybe we need to have the DH for a few.
Every 9 football plays, they should have a tennis player come out and play wide receiver.
Don't start with me, Hoge. I'll get the spray out for you, too.
The dumbest rule that ever existed in sports. Glad they fixed it. All right. what do you guys got coming up on the CHGO Cubs show?
Oh, it's our big preview show because it's our second opening day. The Cubs have like 5 of them this year, right? They opened in Japan. They had all those exhibition games. Those were an opener. Now they open the second regular season domestic one in Arizona. So our season preview show is today on the new first ever live show on the CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. Then we're doing a watch along tomorrow's game, which is the opener against Arizona, 9 o'clock. Then then they also have the opener of the A's coming up, and then they have the home opener at Wrigley Field.
Sources say that I might be joining the watch along tomorrow night.
Oh, really?
I
was thinking preview show.
God, you just get yourself anything you want to do. You're just like, I'm going to do that.
I was specifically told to do
it. Get him.
I like the heavier stream. I really.
Yeah, that's not. You got
I'm getting soaked here. We are not having this. That is for the Cubs. That is for the Cubs show. This is gonna be very dangerous for the Bears show.
I'm gonna walk in here tomorrow with like 5 water bottles.
Well, I might call. I was thinking a little blue dye in it.
Some of that got
that
in
way
your
it
ear.
stains the clothes.
That got in your ear, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. In my ear. This is gonna be like The Office, where we're like all pointing at each other with 2 water bottles in both hands.
I'm sorry. I'll rub your calves.
That is very
this.
dangerous on our show.
It really is.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm gonna join the watch along tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that tomorrow night.
Good.
And then
I didn't even know.
Friday 120s. Friday 120s.
Friday 120s.
A week from Friday 120 Club. So for those of you that don't know as Bears fans, every Friday day game at Wrigley, we call them the Friday 120 Clubs. And me and Cody Del Mendo and the whole CHGO Cubs crew, Emma, our head of social, we go to Wrigley Field. We start at Murphy's, and then we go into Wrigley and head out into the bleachers, the left field bleachers, for every Friday day game. And they're free. You can come out.
Well, there it is.
Hang out. Here's the Friday 120 Club shirt.
Yep.
And
we got some deals coming up on that too.
Yeah, who doesn't? Even if you're not a Cubs fan, who doesn't like catching a baseball game during the day in the summer? Beautiful sun shining. Come on now.
If we had Hoge out there,
I gotta cover my face so they can see it's not me.
I don't know if Hoge's come to a Friday 120, but I know
he's back on the Cub bandwagon.
Hoge's been itching and clawing to come to a Friday 120.
I want to come.
Huh?
I want to come. I have to do a show during the same exact time every Friday. Well, you're not on it.
Well, that's true.
See, that's a problem.
There's a there's a conflict there.
Now you wonder why I found my way into this.
The good news is you live far enough away that he doesn't have to sleep on your couch. That's Cody's problem after
that
Friday
is Cody's
120
problem.
Club.
That is
Braggs
Cody's.
wakes up. Those aren't pillows.
So come out to a Friday 120 Club, Bears
afternoon.
fans.
He did come to Milwaukee. Well, we remember
Saturday.
Well, you were at Milwaukee, and then, I know legally I can't say anything, but we know who the next owner of the Brewers is.
Yeah, that Milwaukee game, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun, wasn't it?
Never a dull moment.
The near-death experience for all of us was great.
Oh, man. Well, good luck with the YouTube channel.
Go subscribe.
Yeah.
Go check it out.
I think I got the lens.
Get this thing out of his hand now.
Luke is taking out every single piece of electronics
I got the lens
before the show.
I got a little excited.
Yeah.
It's problematic.
Squirt.
Do not give that thing to Carm.
I kind of want to just to see what happens, but we'll figure that all out. Carm's out the rest of the week, and we'll be back tomorrow. Though Pat Norton's going to join us again. Appreciate him sitting in today.
Fran Duffy tomorrow.
Yeah. By the way, it's Wednesday. Fran wasn't here. He had to reschedule. He'll be on tomorrow. We'll talk plenty of draft stuff tomorrow's show.
Oh, I got rapid fires for him, and I'll be asking in our Die Hard Discord channel for some of your rapid fire questions so we can just nail him with as many questions as we possibly can.
And break down Dennis Gentry at number 10.
Of course, Dennis Gentry.
This stupid Cub shirt out of here.
That's it. See, that's the last time they ever have to talk Cubs.
Yeah. His wife wants to be a Cubs fan, per sources.
That's fine. Noon tomorrow. We'll talk to you then.